I saw something kind of interesting. Actually, it was really interesting. I read a little story. And it was a little story about an appraiser or an appraiser wannabe. I don't think that's nice. An aspiring appraiser. How's that? That sounds much better. And it kind of grabbed me a little bit. It got my attention. I thought it was very interesting. And I think you're going to find it interesting. It's a little bit of story of inspiration and grit and determination and not stopping. And sometimes right now, we as practicing appraisers might learn from this young man because it's a story about not stopping. And gosh, a lot of us are ready to stop and throw in the towel. So join this conversation when we come right back. Hi, this is Bryan Reynolds. You're listening to the Appraisal Update Podcast, brought to you as always by the very fine folks over at Appraiser eLearning. You need some education? Check us out at appraiserelearning.com. We just got back from Val Expo, had a wonderful time. If you missed us there, please join us in September at the Appraisal Summit in Las Vegas. We'd love to see you there. We're partnering up with the National Association of Appraisers, and it's going to be a great event. So if you've got a little bit of time on your hands, come meet with us, meet with clients, meet with potential clients, meet with service vendors, and learn some stuff. And by the way, get some CE credit while you're at it. We'd love to see you at Planet Hollywood starting September 16th in Las Vegas. Well, without any further delay, listen, I read this story, and it's a great story, and I want to share it with you in the event you haven't heard it. It's about a young man that has a lot of determination, and he has set his goals on becoming an appraiser, and he's well on his way, and he hasn't let anything stop him yet. Including a lack of transportation, he solved that problem, and luckily he solved it in a much bigger way than what he solved it for initially. So I'd like to welcome to the program Mr. Zaire Harris. Zaire, welcome to the program, my friend.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So I'm super excited to have you here today. It's a great story, and we'll get to that in a minute, because I think my listeners would love to hear your story. But before we get there, tell my viewers and my listeners a little bit about Zaire.
My name is Zaire Harris. I'm actually here in the Phoenix office. I am a trainee for RSDS. I'm actually from Indianapolis, Indiana. But I've been a trainee for about 4 going on 5 months now. Been in Phoenix for 4 to 5 months now. And I will be able to dive into that transition to this side of the country as we get into the podcast. But went to Indiana University, have like a slight background in real estate, and did a lot of research and wanted to dive into the appraisal industry.
Yeah. So what? And I'm just curious. You know, you did a little research. You were in college. You were looking at the real estate career path, and then something kind of clicked, and you said, "Hey, maybe I'll try this appraising thing." So what was it about appraising that kind of grabbed your interest to maybe kind of alter your path and go more specifically into appraising?
Absolutely. So I think more so by trial and error. As you know, there's many facets, many different parts of real estate, a lot of different professions. There was also some avenues that I did try and just didn't really find, the exact path that I would like. And then was able to come across an opportunity to work for an appraisal company. And it kind of drew my interest and wanted to learn more about the industry itself. And then I came across an opportunity as a appraiser trainee for RSDS. And there wasn't too much content out there as for appraising in general. And so I had to really dive deep into, YouTube University and LinkedIn and do my homework. And I came across some great content like your podcast, was able to grab some great nuggets from it. and was able to, put myself in a position where I was able to get into the room with RSDS, and I'm here today.
Oh, great, great. So you were a listener. You're a listener. Great, great.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you. I didn't know that, but thank you for those kind words. So tell us about the opportunity. Right, you ran across doing some research on your own, doing a little digging, investigative activity. You found out that RSDS was bringing on some folks that they would turn into trainees initially, and then with a long term projection to become an appraiser. They didn't have opportunities, I guess, right there in your market. So you were willing to pick up and go to them. Is that what happened?
That's exactly what happened. As I had stated, I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana, and for RSDS, we have training facilities here in Phoenix, in San Diego, and in the Dallas office. And so obviously none of those are in Indianapolis. And so I had to make a decision. And if it was something that I really wanted to do, I would need to relocate to one of those branches. And just so happened that the Phoenix location was having openings at the moment. And so I had just had to seize the opportunity.
So what's it been like transitioning, from living in Indianapolis to moving to Arizona? What's that been like?
Well, I'll go ahead and say the biggest difference, obviously, is the weather.
Yeah.
You're going from Indiana, which is around this time maybe mid 80s, low 90s, to here in Phoenix, where primarily every day was 110, 115, 117. Obviously, when you're appraising, you're doing a lot of outside work and traveling and having to deal with the weather. So all that aside, I think that definitely the housing market there's a huge difference. Also, the type of homes here, the large scale and volume of real estate that's being processed here is totally different from back home. So it's definitely been a learning experience for me, and to see like the different changes in the markets.
Yeah, yeah, pretty incredible. So, talk about, and we don't need to get into super specific private details by any stretch, but talk about you did you fly down to interview, or did you do an interview over Zoom or something like that initially? What was the process, if you could talk about that, of the first time you reached out to them to the point in which they offered you the job?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the first series, we would meet via Skype or excuse me, Zoom virtually to kind of get like a good understanding and kind of have that first line of communication. Then as the process kind of moved forward, I did have to come here and visit in person to the Phoenix branch. And it actually was a great opportunity. I love coming to Arizona. It's a beautiful place. And so I treated it as an opportunity to come to the West Coast and enjoy myself, and was able to meet everybody here at the office during my visit, and gelled pretty much immediately with everyone in the office. Great individuals all around, from the other trainees to the trainers. And everybody just hit it off with me, and I definitely felt welcome. And they welcomed me, and everything kind of progressed forward from there. So yes, I did have to come here and visit in person, and as things progressed, was able to put myself in that position.
Okay, great. Well, talk a little bit about the story that I read, right, that kind of got my attention. So you get the job, right? You're hired, but the stipulation is you got to move to Phoenix. So talk about the move first, and then let's talk about how did you get an apartment, or you in a house, that kind of thing. Talk a little bit about that process. Did you have a house full of stuff to take, or did you just take your clothes? Talk about the big move, and then after the fact, where you lived and what was the distance from your residence to your office.
Absolutely. So everything really transitioned and moved pretty fast. And so between accepting the job and having to the day that I actually had start, I think it was about a 3 week difference between those. And so I really had to kind of get things going. And so I actually had a place in Indianapolis, and so I actually was already Airbnb that place, and so I had pretty much all of my personal stuff already put away, and I didn't really have too much inside the house, and so that really made things pretty easy on me to be able to transition out of that location. And so I had a decision to make. Obviously, when you're transitioning, I had to find residence. I had to figure out, my way around the area. And so, obviously, when you're moving, things can get pretty expensive. And I'm not rich by any means at all. And so, I did have some decisions to make. I was able to solidify, a place to stay. There's actually, those type of apps and places where you can search for short-term housing. There's Airbnb, Verbo, but then there's also Furnish Finders, which is a platform for traveling professionals, more so used for like traveling nurses and people of those professions. But any type of profession it would be suitable for. And so I was able to solidify a place that was actually about 4 miles away from the office. And so was able to get in contact with the gentleman, let him know my story, my situation, and was able to solidify, a place for me to stay. And at that point, it was kind of, I had to make a decision on whether I wanted to bring my car, whether I wanted to, secure another vehicle while I was here, or it was just, I'll figure it out when I get there. And that's kind of what I went with. I'll figure it out when I get here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And 4 miles is not 4 miles is not that far. just hold on right there for a minute. All right, I got to do a little housekeeping before we hear any more of this story. Listen, I'd like to thank our sponsor, LI Administrators and Insurance, for their continued support of the Appraisal Update podcast. I got to see a couple of representatives out at Vel Expo, went by their booth, had a great conversation. I love the little mints. They have these little boxes that they give away. It's one of my favorite little giveaways at these conferences, and it's a little tin box, and you open it up, and it's mints. And man, I took 2 of those, and I need some more. They're great. After you eat lunch, you eat a couple of little mints. I was eating them on the plane on the way home after waking up. So thank you for that as well, LIA. Since 1978, LI Administrators and Insurance Services has been offering E&O insurance to valuation professionals. They apply superior customer service, exceptional liability education, and unparalleled claim defense to serve over 10,000. That's a bunch, ladies and gentlemen. 10,000 real estate professionals nationwide, just like you and I. LIA offers commercial bonds, general liability coverage, cyber liability, and much, much, much more. Visit liability.com to learn more about how LIA can help you and your business. Thanks again, LIA, for your support of the Appraisal Update podcast. We greatly appreciate your support. All right, Zaire. So you move about 4 miles away, which by many people would be close, pretty close, right? I know people that drive 45 minutes to work, right? But why was 4 miles a little bit more challenging for you than maybe the typical person?
Absolutely. So 4 miles in the car is about a 5-minute drive, if that. But when you're traveling by different means of transportation, via bike, it's definitely a different journey for sure. And so I definitely felt the difference between the two, but it was just something that I had to do in my current situation, and that I'm grateful for, and was able to put that hunger in my belly, and I was able to, make it happen.
Yeah, so let's set this up a minute, right? So I want my listeners to fully understand this. You had a car that was just back in Indianapolis, right? And so you had to pay some money to get to Phoenix. You had to secure housing. You created your current house as an Airbnb back home, which makes sense. You're probably making a little money on that, and able to figure that out in short term. But anyway, you initially rode a bike to work every day. and I want to just set this stage because I want to understand it. First of all, how long did it take you to ride the bike from your location, where your home, to your office, and what was the average temperature in the morning when you rode from your home to the office?
Yes. So from my home to the office, it was about 4 miles. And during that time, it was about mid-April. So fortunately, it wasn't in the summertime where it was reaching those temperatures of 115, 117. It was actually pretty chilly in the morning time, surprisingly. I would put on a light jacket, and be able to make that bike ride. And so it would take me just a little bit over about 35 minutes, there, and then take me about 35 minutes at the end of the day to go back home. And so I rode my bike about 4 miles each way every day for plenty of weeks.
Yeah, yeah. So you wore a jacket on your way, but what about on your way home? Did you put that jacket on the bike ride home?
Absolutely did not put that jacket right back on. I put it right in my backpack and it stayed there.
It's a little warm then, huh?
Yeah, it warms up.
And how long did you do that, Zaire? I mean, how long did you ride the bike? I mean, this was every day, right? I assume Monday through Friday. Your daily routine was get up, get ready, and get on the bicycle.
Absolutely. So yes, this continued, I want to say, a little bit over a month. So a couple weeks of, every day riding the bike to work, riding the bike from work. Then I spoke to Randy Flowers, our vice president here at RSDS, and he had kind of just pulled me aside and said, you're doing a great job here. We got to take care of the people that take care of us. And so he just pulled me aside and said, hey, man, we got to figure out a plan to get your car here. We can't have you riding your bike every single day. It's going to start getting very warm here, as I did learn that he was telling the truth about that. We crafted a plan to secure my car here. And so I'm very grateful for him to do that gesture for me.
Yeah. Randy's a great guy, and so he didn't know you were riding a bicycle every day to work initially. I don't guess.
No, he actually did not. If you know anything about Randy, he's always on the go. He's traveling to so many different places. And so at the beginning of my journey here, we didn't really cross paths too much because he was traveling so much. But once he was finally able to come into Phoenix and kind of understand the situation, immediately he provided a plan for me to get things figured out.
Yeah, that's great. And it's great when you have a leader take very good care of the team and the people around you. So kudos to Dr. Flowers. That was very nice of him to say, "Hey, let's fix it." I mean, I'm sure you have incredible calf muscles, but let's get this guy, not spending this amount of energy and time every morning and afternoon riding back. I mean, that had to be. Maybe going in the morning might not be as bad, but gosh, after a full day of working and your mind is exhausted, and now you've got to get on a bike in hot weather and pedal at least 30 minutes, and that 30 minutes in 4 miles. You're getting on it pretty good.
Yeah, it wasn't like it was a straight shot neither. There's a whole lot of incline, decline, turns and things that you have to go through. So it was something that I didn't look forward to. I'll definitely say that much, but something that you just have to go through for sure.
Yeah. Did you ever have any rain? I guess it doesn't rain in Phoenix, does it?
You hit it right on the head. Luckily, it does not rain here in Phoenix. And so I was very, very fortunate I was able to miss out on that.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Well, Zaire, I want to say congratulations. And listen, I appreciate your determination and your drive to take small sacrifices, and during that time it seemed like a major sacrifice. I'm sure others would probably not even consider doing something like that, right? So you made that sacrifice to get where you want to be, right? And that's just one of the hurdles that you have to jump in your path to becoming a certified appraiser. So update us on that. Where are you in your training process? Are you still in your education, or what's going on with your transition?
Absolutely. So as of right now, I'm about 4 months into my training process, and so right now I'm actually still here in the Phoenix office. After about 12 months, you're able to become certified, and so I still have a good amount of time left before I'm able to become certified. But every day is a beautiful journey. Every day I'm learning more, and it's just another opportunity to get better every single day. So I've learned a whole lot in my 4 months here, and every day I continue to learn new things. And so I truly love being here every single day.
Yeah. So you'll be at that office until you get your credential. Is that what I'm hearing?
Absolutely. So yes,
Okay.
I'll be here at the Phoenix office until that 12 months, and I'm able to test for the certification. Then at that point, I would be able to figure out exactly where I would like to be located at and practice at.
So you have the ability, once you get through training, once you actually become a credentialed appraiser, then that opens the door of opportunity to move you to a different location if you want. You don't have to stay in the Phoenix market. Is that what I'm hearing?
Exactly. And so once you're able to pass that certification, you'll be able to sit down with Dr. Randy and the rest of the management team to kind of figure out the best place for you as a person and as the company, and be able to figure out, which market, you would like to go to. Obviously, I still have a good amount of time before I get to that point, but that is the end goal, to be able to get to that certification, pass that exam, and to be able to relocate to another market.
Yeah. That's one of the things that appealed to me about becoming an appraiser. I was in mortgage banking. I lived in Chicago, originally born and raised in Kentucky, where I'm sitting today. But I lived in Chicago and worked for a very large mortgage servicing. And that's after the loan closes, where you make your monthly payment. They do your escrow analysis. They call you if you don't make your payment on time, things like that. So I was on the servicing side back in those days, another lifetime ago. And I was married back then and had a couple babies, and it was like, I want to go home. And what is a way that I could get home? And something just blinked one time, Zaire, and I said, no matter where you live, they need real estate agents. And no matter where you live, they need appraisers. And gosh, this might be an opportunity to help get me back home. And it worked. I was able to use that once I became an appraiser. I was able to use that and move. And now I'm licensed in multiple states. I could go somewhere else if I want to. So if you could just pick anywhere, and I know Randy and them may have certain areas that create opportunities for you. But let's just say that they came to you and said, you have a blank canvas. You can go anywhere, right? Would that be Indianapolis? Would you go home to Indianapolis? Or do you think you'd go somewhere else? I'm just curious, what's your long-term thoughts on where you'd like to be as a practicing appraiser?
That's a great question. To answer it, I don't think that I would go back home. I enjoy traveling to different situations and different environments, and so coming out here definitely opened up my eyes that there is a whole lot more to just the place that you're born, or where you're from. And so for me, I think that if I could pick any place, I would maybe pick Florida, maybe specifically Miami. This kind of in that market, there is a good amount of business, and it's a great lifestyle out there in the warm weather. And so I think that if I were to choose today, primarily would look into the Florida market.
Okay. Yeah, maybe you take a surfboard to the office, right? Just go down the coast.
That sounds like a plan.
Coast and just surf on down, a couple of miles. That would be fun. So
Right.
if we have any aspiring appraisers, if we have any folks that are wanting, maybe they're not even an appraiser, maybe there's somebody that just have started doing some research like you. And let's say they're having a hard time. Let's face it, one of the biggest challenges of someone entering this profession is finding a supervisor. There's talk that, Perea is going to help be an alternative to that. I've talked for a long time. Gosh, I just mentioned this down at ATA with Mr. Button. make the model similar to the real estate brokerage side. You can take classes and take the exam and pass, and you're a licensed real estate agent. You just have to work with a broker. Why don't we do that on the appraisal side? Take all the classes, take your exams, pass, and you're a licensed appraiser. You just have to work with a certified appraiser for a prescribed period of time. But let's just say that there's somebody listening or watching that wants to get into this space, and Zaire, they've had a challenge of trying to find a supervisor. What words of advice would you give to those folks listening or watching right now?
The advice that I would give is to do as much research as you can. There's great content like the appraisal update here that you can go into and find a lot of information, a lot of good nuggets, and to just go into LinkedIn, be able to search, certified appraisers in your area, and just, go ahead and shoot them a message. Try to pick their brain, give them a phone call. You have to put yourself in those spaces and in those situations and do as much research as possible. And so I would say, log into YouTube, log into LinkedIn, do as much research as you can, and reach out to individuals. Don't be scared. Everybody, we're all people, we're all professionals, and everybody should want to pull each other up. And so you just have to put yourself in that position of being vulnerable and being able to do that research. And so that would be my suggestion to anyone that was interested.
What great advice. I mean, very well said, my friend. I think that's some excellent advice. Zaire Harris, thank you so much for being here today. Listen, if somebody watching wanted to reach out to you and just have a quick conversation, do you mind sharing an email address or something, how somebody could get in touch with you?
Absolutely. If you were to look me up on LinkedIn, Zaire Harris, I'm very active on there. I get all the notifications. So shoot me a request on there, shoot me a message, and then we can be able to have a further conversation if you are interested. So Zaire Harris on LinkedIn.
Zaire, thank you so much for carving a little time out to spend with me today. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I love your story. Keep up the good work. Keep that fire in your belly. And before you know it, you'll be a certified residential appraiser in no time.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the opportunity. You have a great platform here, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
Thank you for those kind words. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to the Appraisal Update podcast. Thank you very much for spending a few minutes with me and my friend Zaire. Please stay safe, make some money, think about diversifying your practice a little bit. I'm diversifying. As we speak, I'm doing going in different directions, doing different things. But until next time, I'm your host, Bryan Reynolds, for Zaire Harris. Happy appraising.
The Appraisal Update podcast is brought to you by Appraiser eLearning.